So if it's okay for you, please come to a comfortable lying position. And obviously, if you prefer to sit or however you want to be, that's fine. But the user reminders, which are that it's really not necessary to keep looking at the screen, because I'm very aware, I had ME for 15 years myself, so I know that looking at screens is tiring. I also know listening to too much instruction is tiring. So I will try and keep the talking down a bit. I try not to be one of those yoga teachers who chats throughout the whole class, because I know for me it used to hurt my brain. So yeah, the first thing is to not look at the screen unless you want to. The second thing is to be comfortable. So when I suggest you lie, you choose what position that means for you. In yoga, we have a position known as Shavasana, which is lying on your back, arms away from the body, feet apart. But that doesn't work for everybody. And also, it's a really good idea to have something under your head and under your knees so that you feel really comfortable. So comfort is everything, because it's only when you're comfortable that you can relax. And then the second thing is to remember that you only need to do what feels right for you. So I'm going to be giving you guidance. So the first half of the session is about breathing. But if anything feels too much for you, or it doesn't feel right, then do what your body says and your instincts rather than what I say. I'm just here to guide you. So before we start with our breath work, I don't always like the word work, but breathing, let's say our functional breathing, I just want to talk a little bit about the importance of breathing, but without over talking, because as I said, I know talking, listening can hurt the brain. So I just want to explain that in yoga, breath is considered the foundation of health, and it's a starting point for everything. And the ancient yogis used to say that we are only allocated so many breaths in a lifetime, and the slower we breathe, the longer we live. Now, I don't know how true that is or not, but it certainly is the case that slow breathing through the nose from the diaphragm helps us to uptake prana, or universal life force energy, more effectively. And let me just explain that in terms of science. This is all about uptake of oxygen to the mitochondria, or the cell. And it's not just about oxygen, but it's about the correct exchange of gases. So it's about the right balance of carbon dioxide and oxygen. And if you want more on this, both are explained in both my more recent books, because I've done whole chapters on the importance of breathing. The last one I wrote with a breathing specialist, Nadine Mackay. So, you know, if you want to learn more about why breathing is so important, then do have a look at those books. But just to say that for now, that how we breathe habitually will begin to heal us. And apart from anything else, when we breathe functionally, it soothes our nervous system. It takes us out of chronic activation. And that's why it's so important. So there are 4 parts of the breath. There's the inhale, the pause after the inhale, the exhale, and the pause after the exhale. And I'm not going to go too much into those today. I'm just going to give you a taster so that you can experience what functional breathing feels like. So start by lying in a comfortable position and just take a moment or two to connect with your body. I always think the body and the breath is the portal to the present moment. And in the present moment, there's not so much to worry about or to concern us. So be as present as you can by just connecting with your body, maybe feeling your feet, the weight of your body on your support, the weight of your head. And then we're going to breathe through the nose. and sigh the breath out. Do that 2 or 3 times in your own breathing rhythm. And then we're going to start with something called krama breathing. So krama in Sanskrit means steps. And although I'll give you the yoga equivalent, you also can rely on the science here that this is very helpful. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 inhales or sip the breath in through the nose. So it's like 2 sniffs. Sniff, sniff, sigh out the exhalation. So sniff, sniff, and sigh. And blow out on that exhalation through pursed lips. So inhale, inhale, blowing the breath out through pursed lips. Just do that up to 5 times in your own breathing rhythm. And now we're going to do the check-in. So just observe how you are right now. How is my body feeling? How is my mind? Is it quiet or active? How's my energy? And doing your best to be curious about this. Just try your best to allow everything to be, so you're not resisting your experience. Even if they're difficult emotions, or the mind's agitated, or there's severe fatigue, just see if you can somehow turn towards that and allow it. And then take a moment or 2 just to observe your own natural breathing rhythm without changing it. And now I'm going to give you 2 pointers. Those of you who come regularly will be familiar with this, but both are important. But if they're not ready, if you can't access them at the moment, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. But if you can, breathe through your nose and allow the breath to slow down. But if that's hard, that's okay. Just breathe how is comfortable for you. What you don't want to do is to force anything. And then just to help with this, it's really helpful, and I still do this myself, to take one hand to the heart, the other to the belly. And breathe in to the hand on the belly. It's not a big, deep inhalation, but the belly is moving slightly. It's rising and falling with the breath. We can think of the breath being slow and low. And that analogy, if there were a feather under your nose, it would remain relatively still. So these are not great big gulps of breath. The breath is subtle and low. And as you breathe like this, just focus now on the out breath. So what we're aiming towards is a long, smooth exhalation. But again, if that's not accessible for you yet, that's fine. So functional breathing is through the nose, from the diaphragm, slow. This is something I still do in my own practice. And I even sometimes use micro pour tape at night to tape my mouth up so that I'm not waking up and finding that I'm breathing again through the mouth. And of course, if we're stressed, our natural instinct is to breathe through the mouth and from the upper chest, and maybe to breathe fast. What this means is we breathe off too much carbon dioxide, and this can make us feel lightheaded, panicky, spacey, anxious. It can create insomnia. And it means we're not uptaking oxygen effectively, because we need the right exchange of carbon dioxide as well as oxygen. So what we don't want to do is hyperventilate and blow off too much carbon dioxide through fast breathing. And also what we're doing now is a calming breath, because when we focus on the exhalation, that's the breath associated with the parasympathetic division of the body. And in terms of yoga, it's the breath associated with apana, releasing energy, the relaxing energy. And then you can leave your hands where they are, or you can drop them somewhere comfortable. We're going to do something now called box breathing. Now I'm going to give you a count, but if you don't want to count, you can just do it in your comfortable rhythm. So we're going to inhale through the nose for a count of 4, pause for 2, exhale for a count of 4, and pause for 2. So in other words, there's a pause after the inhalation and the exhalation, and the inhale and exhale are the same length. And it can be helpful to imagine a rectangle or a box. I used to do it focusing on a door frame. So I would inhale, imagining I was going up the door, pause along the top of the door, exhale coming down the other side of the door, pause as I went along the bottom of the door. But you can use whatever image works for you. I'm suggesting breathing in and out for 4 and holding for 2, but you can make that 6 and 3, or, whatever works for you. And if the mind wanders, just come back to the rhythm of the breath. If you can, breathing through the nose from the diaphragm. And feeling that the exhalation is relaxing you more and more. The inhale is breathing in prana, bringing in light, life force energy into the body, the whole system. The exhalation is releasing. And then relax the breathing now. Return to your normal breathing rhythm. But again, just check in. Mind, body, emotions. Just noticing if there are any subtle changes, and maybe they're not, that's fine. But just observing how you are. and how the breathing may be helping. And I said at the beginning of the practice that yoga considers the breath the foundation of all health. And this is all about prana. So prana is often described as universal life force energy, of which the way we breathe and the air are fundamental. There's a concept in yoga that when we use pranayama or breathing methods, pranayama is often translated as conscious breathing, that we're helping to soften Sanskrit word, another Sanskrit word, grantis, or knots, tensions in all layers of our being. So breathing functionally just helps everything to relax, and that's when the healing starts. And prana is often described as a system of light. A lot of talk about light at the moment. So the breath and how we're bringing light into our body is fundamental. Softening the knots so that the light can flow, can nourish us. So now we're going to do our humming. Again, you'll be quite familiar with this maybe. So I always say humming has so many effects on the body. It helps to get us to our right vibration in terms of yoga. And it's said that sound can actually change matter. And of course, we know that it tones the vagus nerve. Polyvagal theory tells us that sound is really beneficial for all kinds of reasons, including the stress response. But when we hum, it also increases nitric oxide, which has been talked about a lot in COVID era. And this is antiviral, antibacterial, it's a vascular dilator, it has all kinds of goodness that helps our immunity. So lots of reasons to do some humming. So I'm going to suggest you do it for 5 times. If you want to do more, then please do. You could maybe do it up to 10 times. But listen in to your system. Don't tire yourself. Work with kindness and compassion. So inhaling through the nose and then through pursed lips in your own breathing rhythm, your own pitch. So you continue in any way that works for you. And of course, if you don't want to hum, that's fine too. Just lie and breathe. And then relax and just breathe normally. Again, just doing the check-in. How am I? Curiosity, kindness, compassion, non-judgment with the check-in. And if the mind wanders, just bring it back to the exhalation or to your feet and your bottom. And now we are going to do samana breathing or the coherent breath. So this is an even inhalation and an even exhalation. So again, I'm going to give you a ratio or rather a number, but you can use your own. So I'm going to suggest that you breathe in for a count of 4 and exhale for a count of 4. But if you want to make that 3 and 3 or even 5 and 5, you do what feels right for you. So an even inhalation and an even exhalation. And incidentally, this was a breath that was used a lot by doctors to help people with COVID. And there's a lot of science that is published to show that breathing like this, providing we can do it relatively slowly, really helps to increase energy. If you're lying on your front, you can think about breathing into the back. And then release the breath, come back to normal breathing. And that's a method I suggest you use last thing at night when you're in bed, or maybe first thing in the morning, if you remember. And of course, you can use it during the day as well. And then we're going to do the last breathing practice. We're going to take our hands to the side ribs. So bend the elbows, just have the hands at the kind of below the chest, around the rib cage. So thumbs around the back, fingers facing forward. This is easier to do if you're on your back or sitting. And then as we breathe in, we're going to breathe into the hands. And as we exhale, we're just going to gently squeeze the hands very gently together. So we're kind of helping the breath not just move up and down, but out and in, out to the side and back, so that our rib cage is expanding outwards. This just helps the movement, and it helps to free the ribs, which is going to help the movement of the diaphragm. Again, the breath is slow and low through the nose, if that's okay for you. And then release the hands and just breathe normally. Again, just checking in. How am I? How is the body? How's the mind? How are the emotions? Just noticing any subtle changes without judgments. Just observing the effects of the breathing on the whole system.